just stutter, that's the motto. Drop a few wheels and pop a few champagne bottles. Throwing that money like it just won the lotto. We've been up all damn summer, making that bread and butter. Let me tell you, I just stutter, that's the motto.
Hello, welcome to Loaded. We're back for another short. Don't know what time this is going to drop out. We're back. Hello, lads. I'm not even going to talk to you properly. I'm just going to go straight into it. This is a show about Nufc matters. Yes, we're going to talk about Mr. James Maddison. What's his middle name again, Pete?
Call him whatever you want.
Call him whatever you want. Okay, that's what he says to you all the time, Pete. Yeah, all right, let's move on. So James Maddison, right, signed from Norwich for 20 million back in 2018. Yeah, and in 2020 he signed a 4-year contract. So I think he's probably about a year left in his contract. For me, and everyone knows what matters. Anyone watching the Premier League, flair player, very creative. He can create something out of nothing. Better players around him as well. He should do better. And under Eddie Howe, Eddie Howe will get the very best out of him. Here he is. If you don't know who he is, James Maddison there. Yeah, so he's kind of in. If you look on the websites, he's valued around 55 million. Now we're not going to pay anything near 55 million. We said no about a year ago, so we're not going to be doing that now. But so for me, a value between 40, 45 million top. With Leicester getting relegated as well, you imagine maybe around the 40. So for me, one big thing I'd question is his desire. Does he have the desire to be the very best he can be? And that, I imagine, is the question that Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth would be asking as well. And I think if he goes to Newcastle, that's an indication that he's shown that desire. He wants to be on top because he knows that Eddie Howe, if he works hard enough as well, Eddie Howe will get the best out of him. And I think he'd become an England regular if he went to Newcastle. So that was my quick little intro really on Maddison. But Pete, one question before I go to Richie: is there any truth, Pete, that you're having Matters baby?
Not me.
You seem to know all about these twins that are coming, so I just thought I'd throw that.
It's an interesting factor really, because it'll be a factor in the move that he makes, because he is expecting twins. I think it is one boy, one girl. I've got a good friend that I play football with that's a part of the club, who's a really good friend of James Maddison, and he was actually at the baby sort of gender reveal, and it will be a factor in his move, because his family will be a big part in that. But just to, that's obviously a little side point from the footballing ability side of the talk that we'll probably get into in just a second.
Sure. Thanks, Pete. Richie, maybe we'll go hand over to you next, and I know you have some stats on Matters.
Yeah, I put some stats like I did for the left back short as well, so we can obviously all get in here on this. And obviously, look at his age and stuff like that. 26, is it a great age or is it just a good age? That's obviously that's debatable on that one.
It was a great age. Come on.
Yeah, we all love to be 26.
It's like you said the other day, Pete. Would you still want to be 26? Yes, you would. So it has to be a great age. But then obviously you look into James Maddison's heat map. And obviously, you look at how many goals and stuff like that. So you can see pretty much active in the obviously the attacking third, attacking half predominantly, more centrally and slightly towards the right. Started 28 games last season, scored 10 goals and also had 9 assists. So you look at 19 goal contributions and 28 starts. So he's decent stats still. On that sort of thing. But the interesting one I want to do, and I mentioned Daz before, and obviously obviously Pete and Daz and Chris discussed Dominic Szoboszlai the other day. It's one or the other between the two of them. So it was interesting to actually get a like-for-like stat thing. Now, I showed Daz before that went on. Daz couldn't believe it. And Pete, you'd be shocked when you see this, but
I'm seeing it.
They are identical, pretty much. If you look, Dominic Szoboszlai is slightly better in each little tiny attribute, slightly. So this is where you start the debate start. What do you do with obviously valuations, age, stuff like that? So look, me and Daz discussed it. Pete, what do you think of that? What do you think of the comparisons there?
I'm actually surprised the other way, if I'm honest with you. Everyone's surprised that he's so close, but the thing that I'll argue with is that they're James Maddison's stats in a team that got relegated, whereas Dominic Szoboszlai plays for a Champions League RB Leipzig. So for me, seeing their stats so similar this season for teams that are completely polar opposite, I think it tells its own story. 19 goal contributions, as you talked about with James Maddison, 14 goal contributions in an RB Leipzig that are fighting at the top end of the table. For me, I look at those stats and I think to myself, if you could get James Maddison in a team that is playing better football, that is fighting at the other end of the table, those stats could be even better. And that's why I think so many teams, so many top teams, particularly in England, are looking at him. And that would be my argument for James Maddison. Obviously, of course, you've got the Szoboszlai link. His age is a big factor. Of course, it's a great age. The fact that he's played Champions League football, the fact that he is versatile at a young age, he can play various different positions, does fit into his favour. His height, his physicality, all those things fit in quite nicely. So there were a lot of positives for Szoboszlai, but you cannot discard James Maddison's stats for a team that got relegated, and he missed games this season. He's had a couple of injuries that have kept him out for periods of time. So potentially those stats could have been even better.
Yeah. I suppose then you could argue the other way then that Szoboszlai is younger, he's more development to go. Again, under the same Eddie Howe, he'd get that more out of him as well. So yeah, but I do take your point, Pete. There's you can look at it in a number of different ways.
The other thing that you obviously looked at as well as Dominic Szoboszlai is taller. Obviously, we discussed the other day, like Eddie Howe likes a taller team. The other factor is that he likes a team of leaders as well, and he's captain of Hungary, so you know that he's going to be valued on the pitch as well. Whereas obviously sometimes, as Pete, obviously you were saying there before, how committed is he to the cause and stuff like that? There's been questions about Maddison's character before. Obviously, got a lot of good out of his personal life and stuff like that. So obviously that's something that's a question mark as well. But it's one of those things where it's a split decision. You could go either way, really, couldn't you?
He's won the armband. Because you can see it there for Leicester at times as well, so matters.
The one thing I'll say for both sides of the coin is that they are very similar players. If we were having this conversation 6 months ago and we put those stats up for James Maddison alone, everyone would have been going for him. And it's always very, very interesting with Newcastle fans. We always do. We're so fickle. We see a player out there that is bigged up on the YouTube videos and we go, yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. Yeah, forget Maddison. He's rubbish. No, he's not rubbish. He's a quality player. And yeah, a lot of Leicester fans have said, yeah, get him out. He's not committed to the cause, blah, 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 blah. I would beg to differ. Yes, he hasn't played as well as he could have, but he's in a team that's just got relegated. Doesn't matter how well he plays. If the team behind him are not doing the business, they're not going to win matches. And when the expectancy all falls on him, he has been put in from a Leicester perspective, everything's been put on him to save Leicester. Not Vardy, not Tielemans, not Ndidi, not anybody else, Johnny Evans. It's all been put on him. And he's had that pressure. And to get 19 goal contributions, I think, is an amazing achievement. I would be shocked if we went back and found a player that had got 19 goal contributions in a team that got relegated. I'd be very, very surprised. So I think, yes, they've got relegated, but I think there's a lot of positives there. And he is a top player and could definitely do a lot of positives for Newcastle and improve us.
But it's a stat though. This is like the devil's advocate, as Chris always likes to put, don't you? The other way, you look at the valuations. Obviously, we did a show with the potential arrival of Gabri Vega as well, didn't we, the other day? And obviously, they say that he's got a release clause of around 30 million euros. Dominic Szoboszlai has been quoted at, 70 million euros for a release clause there. And you have Maddison, we probably, do you reckon 40 million collectively, lads? You reckon on that?
Yeah, let's say that.
So, would you rather spend about, the similar sort of one for two players, technically, which you could do if you went and got Maddison and Vega? So, obviously, Vega hasn't got that pressure to come in and learn behind Maddison. Or would you go out all out on Szoboszlai if he was the right player? What would you do on that one, Daz?
You know what? I would thought of the same question, Richie, and I take the two players. I take Maddison and Vega, to say the truth, because you're doubling up. Then you like, I think both of them will come good, and I think again both of them under Eddie Howe. But I would love Szoboszlai, but I think the safer gamble there would be for both of them for the same money, if that's what you're offering me.
What do you reckon, Pete?
I'm sorry, but I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to say I want Szoboszlai and Maddison. I want both. I tweeted out the other day, and I said exactly that. Why not? Why not? If you're paying out your release clause of Szoboszlai, I think it works out to about 65 million pounds, and you're paying 40 million with a view maybe to about 50 for Maddison. Why not? You got two players that are going to take your club onto new levels. Both versatile. Maddison can play on the right. Szoboszlai can play on the left. They can both play as number 8s. So exactly what Eddie Howe wants. He wants versatile players that are bringing creativity to the team. Why not have both? You've got Champions League season. We're fighting on 4 fronts. Those players, if they were both signed, would get so much minutes. They would get a lot of minutes in this team. And what that would do, it would say to Willock, Joe Linton, Bruno, Longstaff, step up. Step up. If you want to stay in this team, you've got 2 players here that have been brought in that are going to push you for space in this team. And the big winners in that all of that would be Newcastle United fans, would be us, because we get to see 2 quality players in that team. The one thing that we haven't talked about, and I'll add to it, is there's a lot of talk about James Maddison in his lack of defensive ability. Actually, the stats will show that in the defensive third, he is one of the highest in terms of tackles in the defensive area. So he has been shown that this season in particular, he does his defensive responsibilities. He might not be all hustle, all bustle like a Joe Linton or a Longstaff or a Bruno in that sense in terms of what you visually see, but the stats are there, they don't lie. And defensively, he has shown that he does his bit for the team. So again, that just adds a little kind of addition onto him. Obviously, he's the guy that we're talking about right now. So for me, he would be a tremendous signing. And up until recently, he was quite well known as being Eddie Howe's number one target. So. Whether that means anything or not, we'll see.
We will see, I think. Any last points before we round off matters? What about the all 3? You're ruling out Vega there in that scenario, Pete, I think, are you?
If you're giving me 2 out of the 3, let's go for the jugular. Why not? But yeah, look, that's not to say that Vega is not a talented boy. Yeah. He's just turned 21 years old. Like, he's got loads of room to grow and develop. Why not wait a couple of years and get him? Yeah, maybe.
Just get the ball.
There's the ice cream truck.
Get them all and an ice cream as well. Why not? Eh?
Why not? It'll be mint. Right.
Got a flake in that for me.
See you on the next one. How'd you like that?
How you like